Before you scroll, listen carefully to this. What happens when the best pilot in the Air Force is betrayed by her own team and forced to clean toilets for 8 years? This isn't just a story of injustice, this is the story of rebirth, and it all started with one broken woman and one last flight. Subscribe now if you believe no one should be silenced by corruption. Let's go. Naomi Ablaze Carter wasn't supposed to fail. Not her. Not ever. She was born to fly. By the time she was 11, she could identify every aircraft by silhouette alone. At 15, she was building engines in her uncle's garage. By 20, she had already become the first black woman in her Air Force class to graduate top of her squadron. It wasn't just talent. It was obsession. Purpose. The sky was her sanctuary. And by 29, Naomi wasn't just a pilot. She was a symbol. But symbols make people uncomfortable. Especially when they don't fit into the neat little boxes designed by fragile egos. She didn't drink with the officers. Didn't flirt at the bar. Didn't laugh at the racist jokes told behind closed doors. She didn't play the game. Captain Mason Reed, he played the game. Blonde. Blue-eyed. A good family. Connected. He didn't just hate Naomi's skill. He hated what she represented. So he did what cowards do best. He whispered. First to one officer. Then another. Until quiet rumors became official memos. Little mistakes were exaggerated. Achievements minimized. Accidents arranged. The mission that destroyed her career wasn't a failure. It was a setup. Naomi wasn't even supposed to be on that flight roster. But somehow her signature was there. Somehow the radio logs were missing. And when the dust settled, when the flames stopped rising from the desert, they only needed one scapegoat. Her. The trial was a formality. Evidence forged. Witnesses pressured. Lawyers uninterested. But the punishment was personal. Janitorial duty. They wanted to see her break. Every single day. The Air Force patches that used to decorate her sleeves were gone. Now she wore gray overalls. Thin, frayed at the cuffs, smelling of bleach and industrial soap. Day after day, Naomi pushed that mop across the polished hangar floors. She could still smell the jet fuel, hear the faint roar of engines warming up before takeoff. But she wasn't in the cockpit anymore. She was the invisible one now, the shadow in the background, the disgrace. And Captain Reed loved every second of it. Hey Carter, he would sneer, loud enough for everyone to hear, miss that stick yet? You're better with a mop anyway. His squad would laugh. Even the ones who knew better. The humiliation wasn't just the work, it was being forgotten by the very machine she once gave her life to. But they didn't know Naomi. Because while they watched her scrub floors, Naomi was listening. Observing. Gathering. She planted tiny recording devices in forgotten vents. She memorized faces, dates, conversations. Names of officers who thought they were untouchable. At night, she would sit by the single cracked window of her barracks, light flickering, playing the same recording over and over. They'll never believe her. She's finished. But Naomi smiled. Because that's what they never understood. It wasn't about belief. It was about proof. 8 years of it. One day bleeding into the next. One betrayal stacking on another. She had watched officers get promoted on the backs of her downfall. She had seen Reed on TV giving speeches about honor and a brotherhood. Families shaking his hand. Children asking for his autograph. And every insult, every lie was like kindling. Until the day the match struck. Veterans Day. National television. Cameras mounted on the tarmac. Journalists swarming. The American flag rising against the blue sky. And at the center of it all, Captain Reed, decorated like a king, stepping onto the podium with that practiced smile. Naomi watched from behind the maintenance line. Mop in hand. Sweat trickling down her back. The smell of ammonia in her nose. And then she saw it. A loose cable hanging from the speaker system. The microphone for live transmission unattended for just a second. That was all she needed. For the first time in 8 years, Naomi felt like a pilot again. Focused. Calm. Ready. She set the mop against the wall, straightened her sleeves, and took a breath. Tomorrow everything would change. And for the first time in nearly a decade, Naomi Blaze Carter smiled. They thought they'd broken her. They had no idea she was only just beginning. The confession. You thought it was over? This is where it begins. For 8 years, Naomi Blaze Carter gathered evidence like a patient storm building at the edge of the horizon. Now the clouds were black. The thunder was ready. And the lightning was about to strike. The morning of Veterans Day was crisp, almost too perfect. Media vans lined the perimeter of Falcon Air Base. Flags fluttered in careful rows, and the brass band polished their instruments, rehearsing America the Beautiful. Everyone was here for the same reason, to watch Captain Mason Reed deliver his victory speech after receiving a new Medal of Honor. But Naomi wasn't here to watch. She was here to burn it all down. Her hands didn't shake when she reached under her maintenance uniform to reveal the flash drive hidden around her neck. Inside that drive was 8 years of betrayal, secret recordings, financial records, falsified mission reports, and most importantly a confession. 3 years earlier, Naomi had met with someone unexpected, Father Donnelly. An old priest who worked on the base chaplain staff. He was quiet, observant, and in his possession was a tape. A recording of General Morrison, the architect of Naomi's destruction, confessing on his deathbed. I did it. I buried her career because Reed promised favors money. It was supposed to be clean. I didn't think she'd live. The old man thought he was safe confessing under religious secrecy. He was wrong. That recording was the beating heart of Naomi's evidence. And now it was going to be played live. As Reed approached the podium, Naomi was already moving. Years of combat training in her bones, stepped silent, eyes locked on the control station beside the live audio feed. No one noticed the janitor anymore. That was their mistake. With practiced precision, she plugged in the drive, overriding the security protocol. The tech in charge barely glanced up from his coffee before Naomi tapped play. It started slow. Static first. Then. I did it. I buried her career because Reed promised favors money. It was supposed to be clean. I didn't think she'd live. Confusion rippled through the crowd. Journalists paused mid-question. Cameramen adjusted their angles. Reed's smile froze, eyes darting to the speakers. Then the second file began. She's finished. Nobody's going to believe her. By the time anyone looks into it, she'll be folding towels for the rest of her life. Cheers to that. His own voice. Reed. Laughing. The base fell into stunned silence. Naomi walked calmly past the folding chairs and stepped into the open. Her janitor's uniform flapped slightly in the wind. She looked nothing like the heroic pilot she once was, and yet, in that moment, she was everything they had tried to destroy. Reporters rushed forward. Microphones pushed toward her. Cameras locked on her face. Reed tried to regain control. This is a lie. Fabricated. But before he could say another word, Naomi lifted her hand, revealing another device, a backup recorder. It's not just a tape, she said clearly. It's sworn testimony. I have more. Offshore bank records. Emails. Communications logs. And the list of every officer who signed off on it. The base's legal counsel appeared, whispering urgently into the general's ear. But it was too late. The journalists weren't listening to the officers anymore. They were listening to Naomi. For 8 years, she continued, voice steady, you buried me. For 8 years, I cleaned your messes. Now, you're going to clean up mine. Then, almost on cue, sirens wailed at the entrance to the base. Military police. Federal agents. Naomi didn't flinch. She had sent copies to every major news outlet 3 hours before stepping on that tarmac. The world was already watching. Captain Mason Reed's career wasn't about to collapse. It was already burning. And Naomi? Naomi wasn't done yet. Because what came next would shake the entire military to its foundation. They took her wings. They buried her name. They left her to rot. But they forgot one thing. A phoenix doesn't die. It rises. The airfield was chaos. Sirens. Journalists shouting. MPs storming toward the stage. But Naomi wasn't looking at them. She was looking up. Her eyes fixed on Hangar 17, the restricted zone. And inside? A relic. An old F-22 Raptor. Decommissioned. Dusty. Forgotten. Except Naomi hadn't forgotten. She knew that plane. She had trained in it. Flown night sorties in it. Tweaked its systems when the mechanics were too lazy to do it right. And she also knew this. That jet still had one working engine. Because she was the one who fixed it. Weeks earlier. Quietly. Patiently. Preparing for this moment. You'll never fly again. Captain Reed's words echoed in her mind as she sprinted toward the hangar. The weight of 8 years driving each footfall harder against the tarmac. Guards shouted. Boots thundered behind her. Naomi didn't stop. When she reached the side door, she yanked the stolen keycard from her belt and swiped. Green light. Access granted. The moment the door slid open, the smell of oil, metal, and old ambition hit her like a storm. The jet loomed like a sleeping giant, draped in tarps, waiting. She climbed the ladder with muscle memory and steady breath sharp. The cockpit was a tomb. Dust on the controls. Cobwebs in the corners. But as her fingers moved across the console, the years fell away. Boot sequence initiated. Hydraulics whining. Power flickering to life. A dull roar built behind her as MPs reached the hangar entrance, weapons drawn. Freeze, one barked. Naomi glanced over her shoulder, eyes calm. No. Die rise. With one hand she pulled the canopy closed. The hiss of sealing locks was the sound of rebirth. And then... ignition. The jet screamed. The floor trembled. Papers and loose tools flew off shelves as the engines inhaled the oxygen like a beast remembering hunger. Security scrambled. Some ducked for cover. Some aimed their rifles. But none of them had ever flown with Naomi Carter. They didn't know what she was capable of. The F-22 jolted forward, tires screeching. Naomi's grip on the throttle was surgical, her other hand flicking switches in perfect sequence. The MPs opened fire, but the bullets pinged harmlessly off the reinforced canopy. By the time anyone even processed what was happening, the nose of the jet was cutting across the tarmac, slicing through barricades like a blade. And then, with one brutal pull. Takeoff. The wheels left the ground. The sound of rubber separating from asphalt was like a crack splitting open history itself. She was airborne. For the first time in 8 years, Naomi Carter was where she belonged. Above them all. Below her, Falcon Air Base shrank to a collection of ants scrambling for order. But Naomi wasn't done showing them who she was. With a sharp banking maneuver, she looped back toward the base. Reporters aimed their cameras skyward. Spectators shielded their eyes. And then it happened. The smoke trails. Naomi weaved the jet across the sky with impossible precision, painting letters in the clear blue above. PHOENIX. The crowd gasped. Phones recorded. Social media exploded. Captain Reed, meanwhile, was being escorted by federal agents in cuffs, screaming, his face red with fury. Naomi's voice came through the public transmission system, patched directly from the F-22. You tried to erase me. Now the world will remember my name. And not just mine, but every soldier you buried, every voice you silenced, every hero you betrayed. We are not done. We are never done. The applause below wasn't polite. It was roaring. Naomi didn't need revenge. She needed the truth to fly higher than the lies. Today it did. And Naomi Blaze Carter wasn't just back. She was reborn. The phoenix had risen. Naomi Ablaze Carter's story is more than a tale of revenge. It's a testament to resilience, courage, and the unbreakable human spirit. She was pushed down, erased, and underestimated, yet she rose from the ashes stronger than ever, proving that true strength is not about power or position, but about refusing to be silenced. Her journey reminds us all that no matter the obstacles, no matter the betrayals, our voices matter. Truth will always find a way to break through the darkness, and justice, though sometimes delayed, is never denied forever. If Naomi's story has inspired you, if you believe that everyone deserves a second chance, that the fallen can rise again, and that one person's courage can change the world, then you're in the right place. Subscribe now to join a community that celebrates bravery, exposes the truth, and uplifts stories that deserve to be heard. Together, we will follow more journeys like Naomi's, uncover hidden truths, and inspire each other to rise above. Don't miss what's next. Hit that subscribe button and be part of the movement. Because sometimes, the greatest heroes are the ones who refuse to give up.